Morning, Maurice. This is Member Brown. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Good morning.
Oh, I'm hearing you.
Okay, Liz, it's 9:30. We can get started.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this November 21st, 2022. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards, commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. Chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that calling users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak in our particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on our particular matter have been considered. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms.
Present,
Roca?
sorry, present.
Ms. Roca?
Present.
Ms. Bay?
Yes, I'm here.
Ms. Brown?
Present.
Ms. Britt?
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Any postponements today?
We do have one postponement this morning. That's regarding calendar number 22-115 at 1200 West 76th Street. The Shoreway Building LLC proposed to erect an additional 10-story apartment building with 73 dwelling units and 183 parking spaces. Madam Chair, they have made changes to the site plan, which require updates to the notice of nonconformance and the public notice. So we will have to reschedule them this morning. December 12th would be the earliest we would squeeze them on. We do have a pretty full agenda that day. The next date would be Tuesday, January 3rd.
Yeah, give them January.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody here for that calendar number 22-115? We will not be taking any testimony today. If you received a paper copy in the mail, you will receive another paper copy in the mail, inviting you to the meeting. I think that's all that we have for postponements and withdrawals. Could you just verify that, Maurice? I didn't send you anything else. Okay, thank you.
Correct. I don't have anything else.
Thank you.
All right. Maurice, do we have any council people on?
I see Councilman Griffin.
All right. We'll start with his, which is the first one.
How convenient.
All right, so we have calendar number 22-132. This is at 7407 Union Avenue. TMS Enterprises LTD proposes to establish a used car lot in a C2 local business district. The appellant appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 4. The This case was postponed from September 19th. The appellant missed the original hearing on August 8th due to a medical emergency. This case was reinstated on September 19th, at which time testimony was taken, but the case was postponed to allow time for the appellant to meet with the councilman and the Development Corporation. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do. State your name and your address, please.
I do. Blaine Griffin, Cleveland City Hall, 601 Lakeside Avenue.
I do. Thomas Sullivan, 4810 Lorraine Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
I do. Chris Alvarado, Slavic Village Development, 5620 Broadway Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
Anyone else for this case? Hey, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Did we get history last time, Liz?
Yes, we took testimony.
Okay, can remember. All right, legal standard, please.
Oh, I do not see Mary this morning.
What's his name?
Hey, guess you'll have to read it, Liz.
All right, will do. And again, this is for calendar number 22-132 regarding 7407 Union Avenue.
Ethan Wiggins.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the transition strip, parking, and frontage strip regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, the appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance. Will 2, deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that 3, the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, the appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Who'll be the spokesperson for this case?
Myself, Thomas Sullivan. Is Edward Miller on?
Should be. I sent him the link again this morning.
Well, he must be trying to get on. He called me 15 minutes ago, said he was getting on.
Yeah, we gave it to him at 8:30, I believe. Check.
Okay, let me try calling him and see why he's not on. Three, 2, 6, 2, 1, 7, 4, 0.
Mr. Miller, Jim Zafiro, we're on the, I'm standing here with Tommy. We're at the boarding, the BZA hearing and trying to figure out if you're there or not. You can't get on.
I'm on the phone with Mr. Miller and he's having a problem connecting.
Could we put him on speakerphone, Madam Chair?
Yeah, that's
Would that be-
fine. Or I'm going to the next case, so.
Is there a phone number he can call in?
Oh, I thought you had him on speakerphone there.
I have him on my line, but speaker's not going to be great for the way it's set up in here.
Sure, have him call the office. I wonder if I should just call him myself. Hold on one moment. I'll call him. Thank you.
She's going to call you.
Okay, Madam Chair, I have him on the phone.
Okay,
Mr. Miller, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I hear you.
All right, can you hear him, Madam Chair?
yes.
All right.
We need to swear him in.
Okay, do you hear that, Mr. Miller? We're gonna swear you in right now.
Okay.
Mr. Miller, and Maurice, I'm sorry, I'm away. I need the script. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Reply, I do. State your name and your address, please.
My name is Eddie Miller. The address of the company is 7407 Union Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44105. And I do.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, whoever is the spokesperson, go ahead and present your case.
Mr. Sullivan is a property owner. Mr. Miller is the tenant of the property who's currently running a used car lot. We have a proposal before the board to revitalize the used car lot with a new building, fence, possibly car wash. We've submitted the plans. Mr. Miller's here to testify that he's in business at the current location. And Mr. Miller is here.
I'll start. My name's Thomas Sullivan, and to refresh the board here, I already did a parking lot beautification along with the Broadway Slavic Development Group in 07 on this property, and it was a model for what the parking lots were supposed to look like for both just parking and used car lots. I don't know if it was a clerical or what. It was for the purpose of having a occupancy permit. I went in front of this board then, and I did everything I was supposed to do, invested a lot of money to accomplish that, and did not get met with then council person Anthony Brancatelli, Barb and Ben from Slavic Group at the site at their office many times. And was not given my permit at the end. Then fast forward till we are at today, last August, the building burned down. We went to apply for our temporary power hookup and utility hookup, and were denied because it did not, because of zoning. All we're doing is trying to reestablish the use of our property that's already been used as a used car lot since 2007. Mr. Miller has been the tenant there for 8+ years. I just had, after we postponed this, I had which I thought was a great meeting with Marilyn and Chris over at the Slavic Group, and proposed a new building, the car dealership, proposed to close the adjoining car lot and build a new car wash there, put a new board-on-board fence all the way around the back to replace the existing one, put a new 6-foot, 5 or 6 foot ornamental fence around the whole 75th Street side along Union, and roughly 40 feet up the west side of the property. New landscaping, a new parking lot, and investing over, which that build out would be roughly around 500,000, and the equipment for the car wash would be about 500,000. And Mr. Miller's here today.
Okay, so you're you postponed your case so you could talk to the councilman and have a public meeting. So what happened with that?
The councilman did not meet me. The councilman, as you'll hear from the Broadway Slavic Group, I met them. They were the liaison between the council person, and the council person is against this and did not meet me. So we postponed this for 2 months, and I retained a architect, and I did my due diligence. And as of today, I don't believe the city's going to support me, but we'll hear that with their testimony soon, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Alvarado, since we already talked about you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Yes, we did meet with both Marilyn Mashinsky, our Director of Business Development, and I met with Mr. Sullivan a few weeks ago. There were a couple of different plans that were shared with us. The plan that you have here, which I believe was the original plan that was submitted to PZA to put in a temporary mobile office. And then a subsequent plan that showed a that car wash that Mr. Sullivan had described. We did say to Mr. Sullivan that that meeting with us didn't constitute a meeting with the councilman, that he still needed to reach out and to meet with the council, with Councilman Griffin. Marilyn and I, along with the city planner, Nicole Calhoun, did have a meeting with the councilman after having not Mr. Sullivan having not met with the councilman, just to describe what it was that was being proposed, and our three entities, the city planner, the councilman, and Slavic Village Development, were in agreement that we were not going to recommend approval of this request.
Great, thank you. We do have Mr. Miller on. Mr. Miller, is anything else you wanted to add?
Yes, I would like to add that, like Calvin stated, I've been at that location for 12 years. It was a car lot 10 years before I even got there. I've done everything I can to help support the community. I even, sitting right here in front of me, I have over 100 signatures where I combed the neighborhood, knocking door to door, and asked anybody that I could, would they support me. I have over 100 signatures here that support me staying at that location. The immediate neighbors, who's right across the street, even wrote a letter and emailed it to you guys. I don't know if you got it, but I have it here in front of me, which I'll be more than happy to send it, where it seems like I got everybody's support to stay there. I help the community as much as I can. I lower my prices, and I have all this documented where these people are supporting me staying there. But at this point, I don't know what am I supposed to do about my family if you guys shut me down? I have nowhere else to go. My landlord has been excellent with me. He's ever since my building burnt down, he's let me, I've been operating rent-free. He hasn't charged me not one thing. And I'm just trying to make a living just like everybody else.
All right, thank you. City planning?
Can I talk again, please?
Hold on one second. City planning?
Yes, Maurice Rowland, City Planning. I do not have any updated plans. Ms. Kukla, were any updated plans submitted to you for this? The things that were described just now are not on this plan. So I don't have anything that indicates what they were talking about doing.
Is the appellant stating that the images on the screen are not correct?
Well, I heard things about installing a car wash. I heard things about installing fences that are not really on this plan. I heard things about creating a building. None of that, and combining two lots. I don't have plans for any of that.
That was all.
So I really can't comment on that.
That was all emailed to Marilyn over a month ago, and that drawing you are looking at does show Oh, no, it does not. The other drawing that's not up there showed the new, and Chris, Chris, do you have that email?
I mean, I can pull that
Well-
up, that, Mr. Sullivan, it's not our responsibility to submit that to. Board of Zoning
I
Appeals.
Yeah,
submitted
Madam,
you. I was.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
Maurice Rowland, City Planning, without having
Yeah.
those drawings, I can't comment. So City
Yeah, we
Planning
can
cannot
do-
make a staff recommendation at this point. It's, the applicant's duty to get those to Liz Kukla, who runs the Board of Zoning Appeals. And I
We
don't have
can't-
anything.
Yeah, and we can't make a decision based off of different plans. The ones before us today, if they've submitted different plans for review.
That drawing you're looking at is the drawing I submitted to Maryland. That was the first drawing that I met in their office, Chris and I in Maryland. And now,
Maryland.
then, after our discussion, Chris was present. I changed it, showed the new proposed building, which was a black building for the car dealership, and the new building for the car wash. And that drawing does show new landscaping right there and a fence around the whole property. Chris, how come that second email didn't get sent in? And you had it before the last BZA meeting that got canceled.
Mr. Sullivan, it's your responsibility to submit these drawings to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The CDCs don't do
When
that for you.
When you postponed this the first time, I was directed to meet with Broadway Slavic Group, and that's what I did.
Yeah,
That was my
but if you had
responsibility.
if you have different plans, the plans that we have right now are not reflective of what you said you're doing here at this property. So we can't give you an informed decision if you are talking about a different project than what plans we have.
I believe
So
the
that's
plans
what
were
we're trying
changed
to-
as a result of the meeting with the SVA.
Yeah, and that's fine, but we need to have those before we can make a decision. If you understand what I mean, we can't make a decision on these old plans and you've changed your plans as a result of a meeting. That wouldn't even be fair to you.
No.
So
The
need to see the
drawing
new-
you're
we need to
looking
see
at,
the new plans.
the drawing you're looking at is from my meeting, was provided to you from Broadway Slavic Group, not by myself. So they were also provided the other drawing. Where's the other drawing? This is a question.
What I'm telling you, sir, is whatever drawings you submitted with when you met with Slavic Village, it's not their responsibility to get those plans to us. It's your responsibility to get your plans to us. So you can meet with 20 people. It's your responsibility to get your plans to us so that we will have the most up-to-date plans to review.
Madam Chair, have we heard from the councilman?
No, I mean, we can hear from the councilman. I was gonna call on him, but I just want to make sure that they know that we probably can't make a decision on this today without the proper plans in front of us. But go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First and foremost, I want to make sure that I state for the record that I've never heard from Mr. Sullivan, never got any outreach. And, I did through Slavic Village. I was able to review the plans. And I do oppose the project. I oppose the project because of past covenants that were not agreed to, which is why I would question the word reestablish when there was never agreement with the former council person, who I actually did some research and found out that there were some verbal agreements to do some beautification and some other things. The current property is not kept very well. To put a car wash in where I believe it's a very close proximity to residential and other things is very disruptive. There have been more than 23 meetings to do an exhaustive rezoning process in this area. And the residents want to make sure that we have something of high quality. So I'm in strong opposition to this. And once again, my door is always open. But I have never heard from Mr. Sullivan. I do know he met with Slavic Village, and once again, once I met with them, we all unilaterally decided that we don't support this plan. So I do not support this plan. And part of what you're seeing now is one of the other reasons, because there's so much disinformation and misinformation and misdirection on this. It's hard to really pin down what is really happening. So I can't support it at this time, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
I'd like to
Um,
clarify, Mr. Griffin, Councilman Griffin misspoke. It was not a.
Man, you could call me, man. Don't you try to check me in this meeting. You can call me and we can talk. You
No,
can
sir.
direct the chair.
said it
You've
was
been
a verbal-
disrespectful
you
to
said
the
this was
chair. So
verbal.
why don't you direct it to the chair? You call me personally if you got a question for me, but
No,
direct
this-
your comments to the
for the
chair,
record,
sir.
This is for the record. You said that there was a verbal agreement with the Slavic group and
Mr.
Council-
Sullivan, you can't speak
It was
directly
all
to the
right,
councilman.
and it was
You
all
have to, Mr.
together.
Sullivan, Mr. Sullivan,
Yes.
you can't speak directly to him. You have to come through me.
Okay, Madam Chair. Everything was done in the past nothing was a verbal agreement. It was all written and done along with the approval of Anthony Brancatelli, the Slavic group, and Judge Bianca. I already submitted all those documents for our first meeting. And my question is, when I left the meeting with the last meeting with the Slavic Development Group, Chris and Marilyn were on board with with this redevelopment. I don't know what happened after they met with city planning and the council person that they've changed their mind. Is there a reason why Slavic group changed their mind, Chris?
Mr. Sullivan, we're not gonna go back and forth with people. You're gonna ask them questions. This is a zoning hearing. We're not gonna rehash things. So it's up to you right now. If you want to make sure that we have the plans that what you want to do here at this property, or you want to go for it and have the board rule on the plans you have in front of us today.
Madam Chair, could I jump in?
Sure.
There is a variance that was, I'm not sure if maybe the appellant's talking about a variance that was granted in 2003 to the same owner. The board granted variance in calendar number 03-144, and this was read at the last hearing, but I'll read it again just in case, it's been a while and we've forgotten. They were granted permission to change the use of a building 27 by 67, a two-story structure, and to construct a 28 by 31 story building to the rear of the lot in a general retail business district. And it was to change use to used car sales. There's no mention of a car wash or anything. There is mention of of ornamental trees and fencing and a landscaping plan being submitted as a condition. But Madam Chair, that
variance is expired, correct?
That's expired if they did not acquire the permit. And I believe that once the building has been removed by fire or by whatever means, then the non-conforming use goes away and they have to reestablish it.
All right, so Mr. Sullivan, we can't, if you have different plans than what we have today, we cannot rule on this case.
Okay, then I will resubmit them. And I misspoke when I said 2007, it was 03, and I completed everything that was required.
All right, so get all the plans that you want to do here, get them all together, make sure Ms. Kukla has them.
Okay.
Don't send them whoever Meredith or whoever the other people you're talking about. If Elizabeth Kukla does not get these plans, they will not go anywhere.
And where is Ms. Kukla?
Ms. Kukla is the one that just talked. So she's the one you originally send your stuff to for BZA hearings.
Oh, okay. Can I have your email address, please?
Sure. Or do we have your email address in our file? I can email you right now so you can respond to that.
Yeah.
Well, Madam Chair, I can give out the email address that for the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's simply Board of Zoning Appeals, all one word, at clevelandohio.gov. And Liz we'll definitely get the email, and I will get it as well, so that way I'll have it as well.
Thank
So
you.
it's Board of Zoning Appeals, no spaces, at clevelandohio.gov.
And we still have, so the next time we won't need as much testimony. We have on record the opposition from the CDC as well as the councilman. So that will be on the record, but we can't rule on two different plans. So Mr. Sullivan, you just make sure that you get city planning the proper layout here.
Madam
Madam
Chair,
Chair,
may I
one
make
other-
a comment before you conclude?
Sure, go ahead.
Now, Madam Chair, is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I'd like for the applicant, when he comes back, to spend less time talking about the past and address the current condition and any improvements in the future. And the plan needs to show that what we see here is not acceptable.
Madam Chair,
That's
can I
my
say one?
statement.
Can I just email you that right now? I mean, it's still in the email, and we continue, and you pull it up. It's in the email that I sent to Marilyn over a month ago.
Mr. Sullivan, I don't know who that is, and that's not the Board of Zoning Appeals, which I was trying to tell you. With the
Marilyn,
Board
who
of-
I was directing in the Slavic Development Group, with Chris.
That's not who we need to get the plans from. You need to submit them to Liz Kukla.
Okay, can I just forward them to you right now and you pull them up?
No.
Madam Chair,
Absolutely not.
might I also point out that if there's changes to the plan, they may also need to be reviewed by Department of Building and Housing. So they
Correct.
really need to be looked at. So we'll need them plenty of time before whenever this gets postponed to. That's so that we can have a complete review, and then when we get on here, we can make an informed decision.
So to be clear, all I'm doing is emailing them, or I'm emailing them to the board and also submitting them to the city building department.
That's correct.
So I'm emailing it to the board and also submitting it at the building department, the site plan to the.
Right,
building.
those are the, yes.
Okay,
So, Madam Chair, we can work with Mr. Chuck Okoye in Building and Housing. I will include him in the email. So that maybe this might be something we could do online, so he doesn't have to come down to City Hall. The next question then is the appellant saying that there's a car wash on the site now that he's proposing?
no, that was next door to the property next door. I
So
was
it's not
proposing
part-
developing the whole corner. But the councilman is against that.
Okay, because what you
So
applied for was a
we'll just
used,
stay in
car.
our lot.
Yeah,
At
it's just,
7407.
it's too many questions being asked. We've used enough time on this. We just need, he can resubmit and we'll have clear direction on what he would like to do. Because I'm not gonna sit here and go through piece by piece of this case without having all the information in front of us.
The other
Thank
thing
you.
is, Madam Chair, the appellant mentioned something about some paperwork with some agreement. I don't have copies of that, if he could send that to me as well. I don't know if that was agreement with Slavic Village or who that was with, but if you could send those again, I don't have those in the file. That would
The
be
ones in the past?
great. Yeah, I think that's
Yes.
what you mentioned. Yeah.
Yes, I have all those. Yes, I will.
Please send those, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it's just the second week of January, Liz, is that what we're looking at?
Yes, let me double check and see that date. So that would be January 3rd, January 9th. That's the second week.
Okay. All right, Mr. Sullivan, we'll put you on for then. Make sure you have everything you need into the city of Board of Zoning Appeals, Building and Housing, so they can do a proper review before it comes to us.
Thank you.
All right,
Excuse me, can I say something?
next case.
Mr. Miller is trying to say something, I'm sorry. Can you hear him?
I just want to ask a question, that is there anything that I can do on my end to help this process?
You need to work that out with Mr. Sullivan. You guys can speak offline.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, we have a request from Mark of Fields, the Assistant Director for Planning. If we could go to this 17426 Harvard Avenue case, Harvard Road
Yes.
case next.
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
All right, so we have calendar number 22-186. This is at 17426 Harvard Road. JSD MAC LLC proposes to construct an accessory off-street parking lot in a C2 local retail business district and an urban form overlay district. The appellant appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 5. There's also a note that a lot consolidation is required. This case was postponed from October 31st to allow time for the adjudication to be updated to include section 348.03C4 regarding establishing a standalone parking lot in an urban form overlay district. And with that, I'll hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply I do, state your name and your address, please.
I do. William J. Fugo Jr., 2424 Princeton Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio.
Is there anyone else?
The owner's here.
I do. Yativa Thompson, 3745 Lander Road, Orange Village.
I do. Martha Fields, Cleveland City Planning.
Is the owner here, sir?
Yes, she is.
Is she?
Sharon Reed. She might be having other issues.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Oh, I do. Sharon Reed, 522 Kipling Court, Richmond Heights, Ohio, 44143.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Chair?
Madam Chair, can I just point out one change to the agenda here? I forgot to update the PowerPoint, but if you'll see, number 5 was added as a result of the last meeting, which states that a parking lot as a main use is prohibited in the urban form overlay district. I believe that's what was the reason that it was postponed and advertised.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. I was jumping in. I wasn't sure if you were going to ask me for the history. We did have testimony on this. I think the most pertinent information is that in August of 2020, in calendar number 20-070, this board granted a variance to establish a parking lot in a C1 local retail business district and urban form overlay district. The code sections that were mentioned are section 327.04, which states that a site plan should be drawn to scale and should include property lines, dimensions, fence, and all other features. And also that a parking lot as a main use is prohibited in the urban form overlay district. This variance was granted and with the understanding that the parking lot would be properly paved, drained, and landscaped. But Madam Chair, it's my understanding that this permit was never completed or closed, and therefore the variance rights have expired. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Oops.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the driveway and landscaping regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Okay, who's the spokesperson?
I am. We're asking for the variance to be
Who's I
granted.
am?
This is William Fugo.
Okay.
I'm the architect.
Yeah, just say who you are before you begin speaking.
Okay,
Go ahead.
this is William Fugo, the architect. We're asking for the variance to be granted as submitted. There was as noted, there was a previous variance for this same lot, and we're asking for this one to be granted as well.
Liz, a quick question. Since Maurice said that number 5 was added, is that a new variance from the last time that when it was approved?
No, they were granted the variance for a standalone parking lot. There was some
Okay.
confusion, I believe, with whether or not it would be consolidated this time. And at our previous hearing, it was clarified that there is no intention to consolidate the 2 lots. So we are talking about 2 lots here. The bar is going to be on a separate lot that you see on the left-hand side of the screen here.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Hugo.
So as I said, the owners are asking for this variance to be granted as submitted. As we said in the last meeting, all the fencing on the site was approved and permitted. So what you see, the fencing exists. The layout shows, provides, the dimensional issues that weren't provided first time. I was not part of the early submittal or the first variance, but this has the draining, meets all those requirements, and has design review approval, the Southeast Community Design Review approval.
All right, Ms. Thompson, you want to add anything?
Yes, I'd like to add that I am strongly in opposition to this parking with the lot that they have on the other side. I don't think that they need to make it so congested on the 175th side. As well, I'd like to say to Ms. Reed, I sent you a private chat. I responded to your email with photos, and I have not heard back from you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Reed, is there anything you want to add?
Yes. We're just asking for the variance for a standalone parking lot as we did before, and it was granted. So we're hoping that you all will grant that.
Great, thank you. Ms. Fields.
Yes, Marka Fields, City Planning. So we received this case probably back in 2020 was the first time that we reviewed it and made recommendations on the parking lot. At that time, when we met with Mrs. Reed, we did question the parking lot on the other side, but then they went down to Board of Zoning Appeals, and I was told that we were not to look at both lots, that we only needed to look at the existing lot. Later on, we discovered that they actually wanted them to consolidate the 2 lots, or that the zoning code required that. I think when it went to you guys the first time, it was right when COVID started. So Rick Riccardi was not on at that time and was not able to explain thoroughly what the issue was. So I think that when you guys were looking at it, you were only looking at the 1 lot, you weren't looking at the other. And so it was approved at that time. So our review and design review was only for the existing lot. We did not review, I mean, not the existing, we reviewed the new lot. We did not review the old lot at all. We have some concerns with the old lot because they're driving over the curb to get into the spaces. So there's not, I mean, you can't, there's no way to like pull in and drive down and get into the space without either driving on the sidewalk or driving over the curb. And so there's some questions about the configuration of the existing lot. And there were also some questions about whether it was grandfathered in or what, so there were a lot of questions about that. I had Liz look into it. We did not get any, I'm sorry, not Liz, but Shannon Leonard in our department look into it. We never got any clarification as to whether the existing lot was grandfathered or not, but there were some challenges with how that parking lot is configured. And one of the things that we were concerned about really was just the safety of that lot. The fact that people park on the sidewalk, the fact that they drive over the curb to get into the lot. I mean, there were just a lot of challenges there. And so we had actually tried to set up a meeting the Thursday after the last BZA hearing. That meeting was canceled and not rescheduled. So there may be a way to get some parking on the lot that would make it safer, but right now with the current configuration, we would not recommend support of this this variance as it is.
So do you feel like further deliberation with the appellant would help with this situation, or are you just against it right now?
I mean, I think that it could if she's willing to do it. I don't know. Because I think when we talked to her, I talked to her Friday. I also talked to her a couple of weeks ago. And she seemed, Mrs. Reed seemed to be pretty set on keeping it as is.
People driving over the curb?
What's that?
She's okay with people driving over the curb?
Yeah. And the thing too is that the existing lot has more than enough parking for the building that she has. So that was our argument. But I mean, I think that the current condition is just not safe.
I'm Sharon.
Okay. This
Yeah.
is William Fugo, the architect
Okay.
on the project. And it's, the owners met with building department and it was made clear to them that parking was grandfathered. And the building's from 1941, I believe. The parking's been that way since 1941. There's been occupancy permit after occupancy permit granted for this location with this exact same parking configuration. And we recently have photos of the building when it first opened up, and that's in the 40s. And this is the parking that was configured. And it's my understanding at the time this previous variance was granted, there was consultation with the planners via text, though they didn't attend due to the COVID. But this was granted. And we're just asking for it to be granted again. The fact that it lapsed, I was not involved with it at that time. It elapsed way before my involvement, but you know, had the previous architect moved faster, they would have had that variance. And the current owner has invested in this lot that you see. That's pretty unsightly, a lot already. Just put in the appropriate fencing. And from our, you know, it even design review, she replaced the fence. They only asked for minor repairs. She completely replaced it. So they've committed a lot of time and money to this site. And they're asking just to get a variance like they had previously in August 17, 2020.
Okay, can anyone from building and housing, I don't know, I see it's Chuck today. Can they verify whether this was grandfathered in or not? Going once? Going twice?
I don't know. Can you hear me? This is Sharon Reed.
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. This project was part of the storefront renovation in 2010 through 2012. The city was involved. They assisted the previous owner and they made the building beautiful. They assisted with redoing the parking lot. I submitted some pictures to my architect before and after. You know, he has those pictures. The building was built in 1941. The houses on the street began building in 1955. We were told that it's grandfathered in. Like I said, it has storefront renovation in 2010. You know.
Okay, Ms. Reed, so the issue of what I'm seeing, and Marco, you can correct me. So the existing lot here that I see with the nice fencing around it was the one that that came before us previously. And this looks like this has a way to get in and a way to get out. But then there's a second parking lot. And the way you have to get into that is over the curb. Is that right, Marka?
Yes.
Okay, so is the second parking lot in front of us today, or is it just this one existing one? I guess that's what we need to clear up.
The one that's fenced in is what we submitted for.
Yeah, but the variance is written up saying that it has to be, that it can't be a standalone parking lot. It has to be consolidated, which means that they're then looking at the second parking lot.
And this,
And I did talk to, like I said, I talked to Shannon Leonard, who does our zoning, the zoning in our department. I asked her to look into it to see if it was grandfathered in. She has not been able to find anything that says that. I asked her a couple times. She looked, I think, through a lot of the different records, went over to BZA, and has not been able to find anything. Now, I will say, just for transparency, Mrs. Reed was told something back in 2020 about about there being a legal lot. I don't know. It was either that it was legal or that it didn't have to be consolidated. I'm not sure what it was, but I know that she was told something, because that was the reason for me only looking at the one lot. So I don't know what that was, because I wasn't present for that.
Ms. Reed, do you have any
I don't
documentation or paperwork to? So, and this is also the issue. Like, if she doesn't have any documentation or paperwork, and Shannon couldn't dig up something, I feel like this is gonna make this case at an impasse, and that's like an unfortunate situation. It looks like they're, trying to work on something.
Madam Chair?
So, yes,
So I have Chuck on the phone, but can I say one thing?
yes.
The board does have the authority to grant the standalone parking lot. And I think the question is, would the appellant be willing to remove the parking on the other side of her bar? Have we asked that directly, straight, to the appellant? Would she be willing to remove that parking along the side of her bar? I believe that we can make that condition a condition of this variance, unless the board wants to require the consolidation, which is also something that the board can require. But the board also, again, has the authority to review this as a standalone parking lot. And we can put conditions on it to require that parking on the opposite side of that bar to be removed if the appellant agrees. Now, you had a question for Chuck. He's on the phone. If you'd like to, what was the question again for him?
I was just wondering if at any point could they verify that the lot was grandfathered in or not. So I don't know if
Good
he
morning,
had.
Madam Chair, and good morning, everybody. Building and housing doesn't have a record of grandfather. It's supposed to say with the records rule, which is 517, which I believe Liz is supposed to have it during her research. If not, then it's not there.
All right, thank you, Chuck.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Reed, so you have a decision here. I think we can move forward if we just do we're just informed we can move forward if we just do the one lot. And then we'll have to try to restrict your parking on the other side. Or if you want to go and try to consolidate. From the previous readout, Liz, it was that they were not looking to consolidate the lots. Was that part of the issue?
That's correct. The last variance was granted with the understanding that it was a standalone parking lot. They were not required, the board did not require them to consolidate the two together.
All right, so we can move forward with that piece, or you can, maybe postpone and try to consolidate the lots. So I'll leave the decision up to you.
This is Sharon Reed. I wish that you all would grant us again for a standalone lot. This has been 4 years. I will say this, I wish I had more residents on the street. We've never had an accident. I'm making sure that those customers do not park on the apron anymore. I submitted pictures to my architect that I kind of was hoping that he could bring up, but that parking lot's been there since 1941. I submitted some old pictures, and
I understand that. I just need to know if you're okay with us moving forward with just with this one standalone lot. Is that what you want?
yes, I want a standalone lot. That's what
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Brown?
Yes. So I appreciate the testimony and the comments of the owner and the staff describing how this has evolved. And I really think the investment in the new lot is wonderful. And although the side parking off of the side street may be grandfathered, it's unsightly and it's not particularly safe. Nobody can stand there the whole time and direct traffic and make sure people walking on the sidewalk aren't injured. And I am inclined to vote for a standalone parking lot if the owner would make modifications and eliminate the parking on the side to use the beautiful, costly parking lot that was created. Saying something is grandfather doesn't mean we have to make a bad decision today. So I would ask Ms. Reed to consider making modifications in order to have a standalone parking lot.
I'm in agreement to this extent. Like our door is on the side. We have a lot of senior citizens. I'm a senior citizen. My husband is. That parking lot serves a purpose. I agree they should not park on the sidewalk or anything. And we've made, since then, we've made sure they don't park like that. But like I said, it's a convenience for each person. It's just not good parking on the sidewalk. I agree. But it's been like that. There's no accidents. And I wish that you would consider the senior center because the door is on that side. There's no doors on the other side. I have people on walkers, in wheelchairs, whatever. They're there during the day, you know.
So that should help you even more to not want people to park. Yeah, because people are parking on the sidewalk while here there are blocking people
I
from
agree.
getting into the door.
Yeah, I agree. Also, we deliveries, you know, and they deliver on that side, you know. So, yeah,
Madam Chair.
Once, if we could get the parking, you know, the main parking lot that we've been working on for 4 years, that we could direct people, you know, to park over there, except for the senior citizens. I mean, it's just very convenient for them.
Okay, thank you. Maurice, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out it's more than just parking on the sidewalks. The way the lot is laid out right there, as you can see from the picture, you can't get to any of those spots without driving over the sidewalk or driving over the curb. And if you look at the curb, you can see lots of chunks have been taken out of it from people driving over the curb to park at those spaces. So it's not just parking on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
right.
That's why we're asking for no
You have
parking
to
over there.
Right.
This
You know, 1 or 2 spaces next to the door where the curb cut is would be perfect for handicap parking, but we're talking about more than just the 2 spaces. You know, it's something that we would never allow. And I know with the city's new initiative with Vision Zero to reduce traffic accidents and pedestrian accidents, this is just an unsafe situation.
This is William Fugo, the architect, and I'm glad you pointed out there are curb cuts here, so some parking could easily be maintained there. The other thing is we did look at trying to get a door on the other side. I don't know if any of you have been in this bar. It's not very big, and to put a side door would knock out part of the bar or seating, and which they really can't afford to reduce their
Yeah.
seating. It's a
Yeah,
small
Mr.
bar.
Hugo, we're just saying if you could just leave like 2 handicap spots right by the door right there where the curb cut is and eliminate all the rest of the parking.
Well, my point is there's
on
more
this
than one
side.
curb cut. So there's a curb cut further down past that white SUV or whatever that is.
That's the one you were talking about, right, Maurice?
Yeah,
No, he's
I
talking
was
about
talking
the one
about
by
the
the
one
door.
that's right here right here next to
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
door.
that's the one I was
There's a
talking
curb
about.
cut right there. Then there's another
Yeah.
curb cut way down at the other end of the parking lot, which again, you have to drive on the sidewalk to get to the spaces that are right here in the picture from that other curb cut. And the same with the curb cut to by the trash can there. So other than the 2 or 3 spaces that are right next to the door in this picture, looking at this picture on the right-hand side, those are the only spots that really would be able to be accessed legally. The other ones, there's no drive aisle. And you can see this probably more clear on the aerial.
Yeah, let's look at that.
There's no drive aisle.
Yeah.
Right.
Madam Chair, this was the reason to have them meet before
Yeah.
coming here to work
No,
out
I
the
agree.
design.
We're starting to like redesign this project, and I'm starting to get a little flustered here. Yeah, I don't think you're ready. You're not ready to come to us.
But yeah, but the question, this is William Figo, the architect again. We're asking for the variance on the single lot, which
Yes,
has been
but
stated you guys can do because we did not submit the other piece of property. And I mean, I know the owner is appreciating all this input and some of these
yeah,
ideas
we
I think
can.
are good, but we're asking for the single piece of
I
property.
think we can rule on the single lot, but in the ruling, it might say that there will be no parking on that side. I mean, you have to understand that might happen.
And
Madam Chair, I do see that someone from Harvard CDC has their hand raised, I believe.
One more
Oh,
too,
yeah.
Madam Chair, if
But
I
she
could.
didn't, I don't think she was signed in at all. And then go ahead, Liz.
The board does not have to grant that variance, though, if they feel like they don't want to allow for the standalone parking lot. It is also, the board can also deny that portion of this variance request. So, and that would tie these two, would require these two to be tied together. Is it something that the City Planning Commission even wants to see as a standalone part? I guess we should probably discuss that as well.
Well, then if these are other options, then I'm gonna, well,
I mean-
we'll hear from the CDC, but then I'm gonna say we're not ready because this is getting out of hand now. Who is it from the CDC? Ms. Brown? The other Ms. Brown, can you swear Ms. Brown in and then she can give her input?
Yes, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? If you do, please raise your hand, say, I do. State your name and your address, please.
I do. Unfortunately, my photo picture will not come in. Harvard Community Services Center I'm representing.
Your name and your address, please.
Corinthia Brown, 1403 Hathaway Lane, Warrensville Heights, 44122. I just had hello?
No, go ahead.
Yes, if I would be allowed to ask a question on behalf of Mrs. Golston, as well as our Community Development Director, Richard Goudray, who's working in a food bank right now because one of our staff was sick, so he was not able to join. That side parking was approved by the City of Cleveland storefront program. So are we saying that when they approved that side parking to go along with the building project, that was pretty much an error? That's our question. Because we do support the program and the investment that Ms. Reed has made. And we know that with her has been going on for quite a few years. And from the Community Development Corporation standpoint, We're just trying to do things that will support vibrant businesses in the Lee Harbor community. And we want things to go as smoothly as they can, but we know that sometimes there can be glitches. So was that an error? Because as we move forward to work with the staff for the City of Cleveland Storefront Program, then we can be aware of that for future projects. Thank you so much for hearing me.
Thank you. Marco, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so storefront renovation did the storefront, not the parking. And the other thing too is that even if, you can see that they did pave it, but paving doesn't require a permit. And so if they paved it, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were given a permit to do it.
Okay. All right, I'm inclined to postpone this because I don't think we have what we need, but I'll open it up to my board to have any questions and let me know what they think about this.
Madam Chair, just one quick point that Allison Henney, our architect, just pointed out to me that we have a new committee called the PetBot Committee that has been set up. It used to be like our old streetscape committee, kind of, where we're dealing with things in the right of way, and this might be a good project to submit to them to review the design and traffic consideration and related safety issues.
All right, thank you. Mark, is your hand back up or you never put it
No,
back
I
up?
never put it down, sorry.
Okay. All right, board?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have a question about the ADA accessible parking spaces. It appears from the plan that the only ADA accessible spaces are in the single lot. And I would just like confirmation of that.
Yeah, as the architect, we're submitting for the single lot, so we showed parking. It's all we submitted for.
No, she's asking, are the ADA spaces that you have, are they in that lot?
For the ADA parking for this lot are shown
Okay.
adjacent to the gate.
Okay. Ms. Roca, does that answer your question?
It does, but I also wanted a confirmation that there are no ADA accessible spaces on the other lot in front of the building.
I believe there are, but I can't say for sure.
Yes, there is.
Are
Yeah.
they marked?
Yes, it is. There's a sign and also painted in the space.
And are they in the area with the curb cut?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I also need input from the board on whether you all feel like you have enough information to move forward or should we postpone this? I need input.
Madam Chair, so as I understand it, if we take a vote today, we would be voting on the single parking lot with conditions on the parking lot in front of the building. Is that correct?
It's possible. I believe Liz is telling us that we have a little leeway here on that. But that's another thing that I'm still not fully clear on.
So there are options, Madam Chair. That's one of the options.
Okay.
The board can require that the lots be consolidated, and that requires the conversation about that parking there. You know, you could make it part of your variance that you don't want any of the parking there in front of it if you require them to be consolidated. So those are the two things that you can do. I believe that you could grant the variance on the standalone parking. You could grant the variance with the condition that they consolidate and, you know, address those parking spaces or make them part of the package that the board could, so the building and housing could tell us if they're compliant. You know, it does involve a little more conversation, but it's not a straightforward answer here. I'm sorry.
Well, Liz, the one option that I think we're considering you didn't address. So is it within our authority to grant a standalone parking lot with conditions that parking on the side be limited to handicap spaces.
I think we could make that part of the condition of the variance. We would have to
Madam Chair,
mention that.
if that's allowed, Madam Chair, I would support doing that and not requiring consolidation.
Sounds
That's
good.
one.
Anyone else want to
Mm,
chime in on that?
Madam Chair, I just had a quick question. Are we saying then that if we were to require or say that the spaces adjacent to the building are only handicap, it would be or ADA accessible only where there are the one curb cut next to the door, not in the back?
Correct.
Well, I would leave it to be designed by, city planning, building and housing, and the owner. I mean, we shouldn't design it.
Well, they'll have to submit it. Resubmit
Okay,
it.
thank you. But I support making ADA spaces as many as possible and safely.
All right. Well, hearing that everyone would be okay with moving forward on something like that, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, Madam Chair, having heard extensive testimony from the owners and city planning representatives on the history of this improvement project and also from the CDC, there is an interest in supporting this business in the Lee Harvard community and helping it to be successful and making a decision that supports that. And with appreciation for the investment for the new parking area and what it will provide to customers, I move approval of a standalone parking lot without consolidation, with conditions that the adjacent parking be limited to ADA spaces and be in compliance with all zoning and building and housing codes, given the space and configuration available. And with that, I move approval with conditions. And I assume a new site plan would have to be submitted showing the spaces.
Okay. Can I have a second, please?
Board Member Holzer, second.
Ms. Holzer with the second. Go ahead, call the roll, please.
So, Madam Chair, before we call the roll, I do want some clarification. It would be great if we could cap the number of spaces. I think that there's going to be a lot of going back and forth with city planning on this. I would hope also that we would not ratify this until city planning has approved the proposal by the appellant after discussions. So I guess I would say, could we get more clarification on possibly the number? Do we want to reduce it? I think they only have 9 spaces there now. Do we want to reduce by half? Was wondering.
Yeah, I was saying, 4. We'll put in 4 ADA spaces that are only accessible by the existing curb cut.
I would like at least 6. This is the owner. And
Ms. Reed, we're in the middle of deliberating right now, so this is between the board now.
So the next question then would be, we want them to meet with city planning. Do we want to hold ratification until we get approval or the okay from city planning?
Yes.
And do we want some sort of delineation of areas that would not be used for parking? Would you like to see a site plan that there'd be striping or some indication on the parking lot that says no parking? How would we like to see that, or should we leave that up to the city planning commission?
Yeah, I'm not going to design this parking lot. Leave that up to city
And
planning.
Madam Chair, I would prefer not to put a unit or a space number and allow if we're gonna hold ratification until there's a meeting with city planning, I would prefer to let them, I mean, no more than what we have, but allow them to design it with the owner.
I'm okay with that. I just don't want too many spaces over there that people are still driving on the sidewalk. So, all right, I'm okay with that.
Okay. So this is granting conditionally pending new drawing showing that there would be less parking for ADA only at that side along the side street there, which I'm not sure the number. I will call the roll, Madam Chair. Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
Calendar number 22-186 is granted conditionally with the understanding that the ADA parking spaces alongside the bar, which this subject parking will be accessory to, will be worked out with City Planning Commission, and we will hold ratification until we receive a satisfactory plan from both parties, Planning Commission and the appellant. Thank you.
Thanks. Next case.
Our next case is calendar number 22-176. This is at 6400-02 St. Clair Avenue. Thomas Richards Sr., owner, proposes to expand first floor use of bar and restaurant area into vacant space on the first floor, interior expansion only, in a C1 local retail business district. The appellant appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. This case was postponed on October 17th. At that time, testimony was taken, but the case was postponed to allow time for the councilwoman to hold a public meeting. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do, state your name and your address, please.
Thomas Richard, 6400 6400-02 St. Clair. I do.
Okay, anyone else for this case? Okay, Madam Chair.
Oh, hello?
Yes, someone else is here?
Yes, I do. Michelle Davis with St. Clair Superior Development Corporation, 3615 Superior Avenue.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Believe we had testimony before, so we'll go to legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Richard, where we left off is, I think I remember correctly that the councilwoman asked for a community meeting for her to be updated, about this, case. So what happened?
Yes, we had the meeting. It was very I think it was the St. Clair Superior Coalition there was there. Councilperson was there, myself and just a few others in the community, and it was very successful. Everyone left. When we left the meeting, it was very advantageous for myself. We discussed the concerns, and all the signs and things were posted, and any other people who were interested in the community were also welcome. And it was, like I said, when we left, it was we actually had no one opposing at that time when we left.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Ms. Davis from the CDC?
Yes, yeah, we helped Councilwoman House have a public meeting. Mr. Richards and his family came. The neighbors that were most interested in the case, the couple that lives next door, came to the meeting. They were also in attendance at the last Board of Zoning Appeals meeting when Mr. Richard first came. And although, you know, they're a little hesitant still, having not lived next to a bar in quite a while, they aren't here opposing the project. So they want to, you know, let Mr. Richard move forward with his project. And so we're excited to see his future plans. We haven't seen anything because he needed this variance first to then move on to architectural drawings, moving into the apartment spaces on the first floor. So we're excited to see what he comes up with and work with him and his family.
Great, thank you. Glad that we actually had some follow through on a postponed case today. All right, board, do you have any further questions or comments for Mr. Richard?
Well, Madam Chair, I just have a question regarding the off-street parking and the question of whether parking was actually addressed and the number of spaces on the street during the public meeting.
This is Thomas Richard. Yes, it was. As we said, these are adjoining from previous testimony, joining properties that and they're non-conforming mixed-use structures. And we did talk about that in the meeting and with the councilman, and we also talked about, you know, the one person that did oppose, and trying to work with them as far as if parking was to be in front of their unit, which is currently already is, we would be more than like if they was thinking about like if they had some family structures or something like that, what could they do? And I told them just let me know ahead of time, stuff like that. And you know, if that's because this is a one-way street, and currently right across from their property is a body shop that parks in front of their place every day. So you know, so I was just trying to be courteous to my neighbors, and you know, so we did work out something, and along with and like I said, everyone was in agreement, and that was a discussion that we had.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions, board?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
I would just like either the appellant or the city to confirm that there is street parking across the street on St. Clair that is available to the public.
Yes. Oh, you speaking to me, ma'am?
Yeah, sure. Mr. Richard, if you could answer it. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, there is currently, like I said, none of these adjoining structures that's pretty much grandfathered, and they're non-conforming. We so close butted. If the buildings are so butted together, when the architect back in these buildings was designed in like 1915, they did not have parking in mind. So off-street parking was pretty much complimentary to them at that time, and some very small, like on my property, like I have a 4-car garage that is existing there currently, and we did talk about that, and that would be we did agree in the meeting that tearing down my garage would be more not, it wouldn't be advantageous to the one resident.
Mr. Richard, she just wants to know, is there parking, street parking across on both sides of St. Clair?
Oh, yes, that's what I was saying, but I was just trying to give
Okay.
it. All right. I
Yeah,
ain't gonna go into no.
that's all she needs to know. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
And so, and I just have one question for you as far as what do you think your days and hours of operation will be for this bar? We need to have that for the record.
Yes, it's going to be evening. I'm going to basically do like no more than 3-4 days. I think Monday and Tuesday I probably won't be open.
So it'll be Wednesday through Sunday then?
No, not Sunday. I don't have Sunday license. So
Okay,
it'll be
so Wednesday through Saturday.
yeah, Wednesday through Saturday. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
And
do
what,
Sundays, no way.
yeah, I don't blame you. So what hours would that be?
That would be from well, I have 4 to 2:30, but bar time is 1/4 to 1:45.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so
Madam Chair, there is someone with their hand raised.
They weren't sworn in though. Who is it that has their hand raised?
It says Ashraf.
Is someone we should swear in, Madam Chair?
I don't know. They're not speaking.
They're not responding.
All right.
Should
move
remind,
forward.
remind him to use *6 to unmute himself?
He does appear to be unmuted.
Went down though.
Oh, that was me.
Oh,
Okay. Well, I just wanted
All
to
right.
call it to your attention in case he wanted to say something.
all right. So board, any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the expanded use of the bar and restaurant area into the first floor of the adjacent residential and with no on-site parking or off-street parking provided, given the availability of on-street parking available to the public, particularly on St. Clair. We arrive at this having heard testimony from both the owner and the St. Clair Superior CDC, who, along with the council person, convened a community meeting to discuss the use and parking and sort of the community's interests. And having no opposition from the neighbors, I move approval.
Thank you. And I'm just going to pause that for a second. I forgot to ask Maurice about city planning, but I think I know where they're going. But let me, I failed to do that.
Yeah, I did want to point out that there was one letter objecting to that we got
thank
just
you.
late, so that there was one person that lives in the area that was objecting. But yes, we do support this variance after having hearing the results from the neighborhood meeting. It sounds like everybody is pretty much in favor. There is plenty, in my mind, there is more than 9 spaces available in that area, because not only on St. Clair can you park, but I believe because East 64th is a one-way street, I think you can park on both sides of that as well. And there is a giant vacant lot next to that, so that would mean those spaces are probably available most of the time. So we recommend approval.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry about that. All right, so we have a motion. Can I have a second, please?
Board Member Roca seconds.
Ms. Roca with the second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Ms. Olzer?
Yes.
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Calendar 22-176 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send the appellant a letter.
thank you very much. God bless you.
All right, thank you. All right, next case.
We have calendar number 22-180. This is at 3140 West 25th Street. The Northeast Ohio Hispanic Center for Economic Development proposes to convert a 31,500 square foot building and surrounding lots to a mixed-use campus, including a grocery store, bar/restaurant, community center, offices/conference area, stage/assembly use, and commercial kitchen, and erect an outdoor accessory storage building and a total of 83 accessory off-street parking spaces, which includes 2 lots on separate parcels across Black Court. The appellant appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 4. This case was postponed on October 24th to allow time for the project to be reviewed by the City Planning Commission. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Reply, I do. State your name and your address, please.
I do. Luis Pupo.
Anyone else?
City of Cleveland.
I do, Jenny.
Was that Matt Moss?
Yes.
Okay.
I do, Janice Contreras, project owner, 3140 West 25th Street.
I do, Felipe Valadez at RDL Architects, 16102 Chagrin Boulevard, Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I believe we got history last time, so legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the parking and landscaping regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. All right, so we postponed last time, I believe, to give you guys time to get to City Planning Commission first. So who will be the spokesperson for this? I think you're muted, whoever's talking.
Apologies. We met with planning and received approval from the Planning Commission.
Yeah, who's
with the
speaking right now?
condition- I'm sorry?
I said, who's speaking right now?
Luis Pupo, I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. Pupo. Okay, go ahead.
We've met and received approval from the Planning Commission with the contingency that we revisit the PRO parking on the lot south of the building. We've also received recommendations from Matt Moss, and due to the timing, we were unable to thoroughly vet that, the owner and myself. But I think that she's reviewed it and is ready to speak as to what concessions she's willing to make with regard to the recommendations from Matt Moss. With that, I'll turn it over to Janice.
Madam Chair. So we will comply with the PRO, which requires a 40-foot setback from this lot on West 25th. And so our intent is eventually to develop this lot. So it'll be a temporary use of putting picnic tables and planters and making it, creating a friendlier pedestrian experience than a parking lot in that front area. until at a later date. We might need to come back for a conditional use, so we'll figure it out later on. But we are prepared to comply with the PRO. Matt is putting up some of the great suggestions he sent. Unfortunately, we got them Friday afternoon, so couldn't review them, but I think it definitely has a flair of what we intend to do.
Great, thank you. Mr. Valdez?
This is Luis Pupo. Madam Chair, I'd just like to note that as a result of complying with the PRO, we lost 9 spaces. So we need to amend the parking count from 84 to 75, I believe, is the balance. So I think that the requirement that we received in our compliance letter, non-compliance letter, was 98. So we're looking for approximately 23 space reduction in that requirement.
All right, thank you. Make sure we have that on the record. Yeah, Mr. Valdez, did you want to add anything?
No, I think Luis Pupo covered it. What I had to
Great,
say.
thank you.
So,
Thank you. Matt Moss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the applicant stated, this has gone through the Planning Commission approval, received design approval. So fully recommend and support the use variance. I believe these properties, or this whole site, is functionally split zoned, just given the consolidation needed to make this project work. So support the use variance as requested, as well as the area variance for the parking requirement. I think we're still working on, like the applicant mentioned, the plans for the landscaping and the rest of the site. Myself and really one of my colleagues here, Allison Henney, put together some recommendations on how that space can be complied with in terms of the pedestrian retail overlay. So we included the slides here just to give the board some indication of what to expect in case they felt it was necessary or pertinent to your motion today. So next slide. Those are some listing of some examples. So here's roughly the space we're talking about. We have some room to allow turnaround space for the parking lot to actually function. So that's what represents that little bump out that you see in the middle there. Next slide. I'll go through these pretty quickly. This allows the maintenance of the existing curb cut. It allows for an encroachment into the 40-foot setback space, for example, for parking operations. The guardrail would have to be addressed, as well as maintaining it, but it would also maintain 14 spaces in the lot. Next slide. So these are just some examples. Asphalt painting is an option, especially using the color palette put together by the design team for Centro Via. Next slide. Some bike racks along with that paving can go really well in that space as well. Next slide. The options include potentially a pop-up library. Again, these are just to generate some ideas for the design team. Next slide. Activating that space with events is also an option, totally suitable to the PRO. Next slide. They could get creative with the lighting in order to activate this space, and just some examples of how that's done below. Next slide. And then using the seasons to activate the space with planting beds, perhaps as a community garden space is another option. Next slide. And then incorporating more elements that we've seen through this presentation. I know we're really focusing on the parking lots here, especially for the sake of this zoning hearing, but overall this project represents a huge transformation activation for the space. So really want to highlight that point as well. Next slide. And that's it.
That was it.
So thank you.
Thank you. All right, board, any further questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval for calendar 22-180. Today is our second time hearing testimony for the proposed Hispanic Center for Economic Development. And since the last time we met, it has appeared and received approval from the City Planning Commission. And as we have heard from the owner's architect and city planning, there is great support and anticipation for this development. And so we move approval for the use variance as requested, and we move approval for a change in parking requirements to a maximum of 75 spaces as proposed. And with that, I move approval.
Thank you. I believe it's an area variance in here too, so we'll just do a blanket approval. Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Board Member Roca seconds.
Ms. Roca with the second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't believe I have a copy of the new plans showing this reduction. So I would just ask that we receive that before we ratify this. Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
Calendar number 22-180 is granted conditionally based upon a revised site plan approved by the City Planning Commission. We will hold ratification until we receive that revised site plan, and once we receive that, we will ratify it and send the appellant a letter.
All right, thank you. Great project. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I believe this is our last case.
I do think this is our last case. So we have calendar number 22-183. This is at 3244 St. Clair Avenue. Joe Lasik proposes to add patio outdoor seating and change use from store and one dwelling unit to bar/restaurant and one dwelling unit in a C3 semi-industry district and a live-work overlay district. The appellant appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are two. This case was postponed from October 31st to allow time for revised plans to be reviewed by Building and Housing. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Sure. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Reply, I do. State your name and your address, please.
I do. My name is Jared Goody. My address is 5015 Herman Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44102.
Anyone else for this case?
Good morning. Michelle Davis again from St. Clair Superior Development Corporation. I do 3615 Superior Avenue. Thanks.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Thank you. I wasn't here this day. Did you get testimony on history?
We did give the history report last time, Madam Chair. In this case, though, just for your information, the appellant submitted a plan at the hearing or right before the hearing, and the Building and Housing needed to review it again. This new plan showed parking within the setback areas, and so the description that was read this morning includes that updated review, and specifically the new language as driveways providing access to parking shall be located and arranged to minimize traffic congestion. Per section 349.07 C3, maximum width of driveways cannot exceed 30 feet in width. So that's the new language that we're looking at today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the off-street parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Goody.
Yes, so we are requesting a variance in order to expand the business and have a patio in the outdoor area. We are not requesting to use any of the public property sidewalks. This will all be contained within our own property. From what I understand, we did not meet the off-street parking requirement with our original application. We have reached an agreement with the parking lot across the street, as you can see on this overhead that is directly across the street from us. Also pointing out here that there is really no residential in any block, any radius over a block from the bar. So we don't believe that this patio would be a nuisance to the neighborhood in any regard.
All right, thank you. So from the last meeting, is that what you all needed to hear? I'll just ask my board that.
It was the location of the parking. Mr. Goody represented that there was an agreement, but we could not see the location relative to the bar.
All right, so is he
This is
satisfied
very
with that?
responsive.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I just want to point out that city planning does not support the parking spaces on the site plan that Mr. Goody is proposing. We would suggest that those just be eliminated and just use the parking lot that he's providing, that he has obtained a lease for, and just use that to satisfy his parking. This would create a problem just like we saw earlier in the meeting, you know, with people pulling over the sidewalk or backing out into the street. We definitely wouldn't want people backing onto St. Clair Avenue. I think that would be very problematic. So I would say recommend approval of this project, but remove the, looks like 6 spots that the applicant was specifying on the site plan.
All right, Mr. Goody, are you amenable to that?
Yeah, we would be fine with that. I think we have plenty of parking in the area between the street parking and the parking lot across the street. So we would have no problem losing those spots if that's what we needed to get the permit.
Great. And I see the next slide, you actually have the parking agreement. So
Madam Chair, Cindy Doe.
yes,
3202 St. Clair Avenue.
who's this?
Cindy Doe, owner of Central Exterminating Company, which is at 3202 St. Clair Avenue.
You weren't sworn in, so you have to be sworn in, and then I have to call on you.
Okay.
So we'll swear you in, and then hold on a second.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Yes, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do, state your name and your address, please.
Yes, I do. My name is Cindy Doe. Address is 3202 St. Clair Avenue.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Doe.
There is a small street that runs behind our whole block, which the bar is located on one end. We are on the other end. And is there going to be access into this patio from that little side street? Breck Court.
You're asking to the rear of the property?
Correct.
No, there currently is a fence that separates the property from that alley, which we would keep in place. There would be emergency exits from the property to exit either towards St. Clair or East 33rd, but it will all be, you know, sectioned off, fenced off, so that you wouldn't be able to enter the patio unless you enter the front of the bar.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Davis from the CDC.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to share that Jared's been great. He came and met with our placemaking committee at our board of directors, and he's been really great to work with. So we just wanted to say that we support his project.
Great, thank you. Okay, Board, any further questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of calendar 22-183 in support of change of use to support expansion of a restaurant and patio at this property. Also move approval to accept the parking agreement for off-street parking spaces, which would be across St. Clair, and ask that the applicant or appellant eliminate the 6 spaces that are shown on the site plan and only use on-street or parking as offered through the parking agreement. And with that, I move approval.
Thank you. We'll just ask that you submit new plans showing that you have eliminated the parking, those 6 spaces by the building. All right, can I have a second, please?
Board Member Holzer, second.
Ms. Holzer with the second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
Calendar number 22-183 is granted conditionally. We will hold ratification until we receive that site plan showing that those parking spaces will be removed. Once we receive that, we will ratify it the following Monday and we will send the appellants a letter.
Great, thank you. Good luck with everything.
Good luck.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right. Old business.
Looks like it's blank.
Oh. I don't have
Hold
it.
on a minute. One
Okay.
technical difficulty. I thought I was on there, but
We have no
apparently
business.
it's not.
Need me to send it again, Maurice?
I don't think Miss Kukla sent it to me.
I'm absolutely sure I did.
Or if she did, I just didn't see it. Oh, there it is. One second. There you go.
There we go. All right, old business 1, 3, and 13 without objection.
No objection.
Thank you. And I can't see the bottom here. Can you tell us what's going on, Liz?
Sure, we have 2 affirmations requested. The first one is calendar number 21-132, located at 1430 East 45th Street. Cleveland Housing Network was granted variances to construct a 50-unit apartment building in 2021. They were having issues with getting those construction drawings completed. This is their second affirmation.
Yeah, no problem. Without objection, minus Miss minus R1 Cleveland Housing Network person.
And so the next one is calendar number 22-045 regarding 12511 Mayfield Road. Matthew Weimer was granted variances to erect a 5-story mixed-use building with a tavern. And I'm not sure what the other thing is. It was May of this year, and they are having the same issue with getting the complete drawings, the construction drawings done timely. So they need 6 more months.
Okay, without objection. All right, that's it. Okay, thank you. All right, everyone, have a good week.
Everybody
Thank
have
you,
a good
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanksgiving.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.